amazing. Hello and welcome to the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships. We're back in action for round 20 of the top 16 superstars. It is the North America region. We've got Nations Cup action to come here for you today. My name is Tom Brooks, alongside me, Jimmy Broadbent. Jimmy, this is going to be pretty exciting. Group X cars, and by that we mean 1500 horsepower, 80s-esque Formula 1 cars, around a circuit that's very technical in some elements. I'm keen to see what we're expecting.
Well, I think you say might be very exciting. It has been very exciting. We've seen a couple of races around here in this car and track combination. It's been pretty mad, I think, to say the least. As you say, lots of power in these cars, very easy to make mistakes. And you throw into that quite a high rate of tyre wear in cars that really eat their tyres anyway. Yeah, going to be good.
Certainly will be. You can see that there are racing medium, hard and soft compounds of tyres available for these drivers. They must use each compound of tyre once over the course of this 10-lap race. Tyre wear is at times 6, so essentially 1 lap is the equivalent to 6, meaning that drivers are going to have to be a bit careful with this, and strategy will be very interesting indeed. Anyway, with that said, let's head over to the grid and see how our North American region competitors line up. So then over to the grid for the North America Region Nations Cup race. You can see the competitors all lined up here. On pole position, Andrew Brooks, the Canadian driver. We know how fast he is in qualifying. Standing start here for these drivers, just to remind you as well. Jeffrey Gallen lines up alongside him, a Canadian front row, all locked out. Danny Solis, P3 on the grid. And what about in 4th position, Randall Hayward? Keep an eye out in P5, Kevin Pounder, the American driver, heads the 3rd row. And then alongside him is the Canadian of Mark Pinnell. Very distinctive looking gold chrome livery on his car. Leslie lines up P7. And in 8th position is Mitchell. Very 80s-esque looking livery on his car, which is appropriate, I suppose. Rayner is in 9th place. And completing the top 10 is Grove. 11th position is CJR. P12 on the grid is Robbie Heck. Difficult qualifying then for him, for the Vanquish Esports driver. Clearly some work to do. Goulet lines up in P13. 14th position on the grid with the Braun-esque looking livery is Watson. And the final row of the grid is headed by Helt. And alongside him, completing our 16 competitors, is McFadden. So then, it'll be very interesting to see what happens in 10 laps time. You can see the tyre choices on the left-hand side of your screen for the first time of asking. On the left-hand side is Brooks. On the right-hand side is Jeffrey Gallen. Who is going to be leading the way in 10 laps time, and who will take the win in round 20 of the Nations Cup for the North America region? We're about to find out. Tension is in the air. Lots of exciting action to come, I am sure. Revs are beginning to rise. We are about to be racing here at San Croix. Lights out then, and we go racing. Good start from Brooks, not a bad start from Gallen. Keep an eye out for Solis, who's got an absolutely meteoric start off the clean side of the grid. He pulls alongside Gallen as they go side by side into the left-handed kink of the first corner. Solis is ahead, he's nearly in the wall on the outside. Hard on the brakes, they go into turn 2, and Solis does get through into 2nd position. Pounder's in the wall on the outside there, and it looks like Pinnell might have followed him through. A plethora of penalties in the lower half of the top 10 here, as Solis now challenges Brooks for the race lead coming down the straight. He can go hard on the brakes into the hairpin. Solis has got the inside line. He's got track position. He's now got the race lead.
Yeah, great move there by Solis. Used the draft at the start to get up behind Brooks and put himself in a position to overtake down towards the right-hander there. Really messy start here in the Americas region. I count 8 penalties there through T1. Everyone just takes far too much speed in there. Doesn't take into account cold brakes, cold tyres, and you just get this horrible accordion effect as everyone crashes in. Of course, it's great for these guys in front, Solis, Brooks and Gallen, because they've got now a 3.5 second gap to the Ruber cars behind. We're on board with Jeff Gallen right now. Again, you're seeing that custom setup on Andrew Brooks' car with that ludicrous amount of cam that we've seen in other regions. It seems to be the way to go here as Gallen looks up the inside, and Brooks not quite close enough to do anything there. You wouldn't really expect to move there usually. I think now I need to focus on maybe staying with Danny Solis, because he's rocketed away, already 1.8 seconds on these guys.
we've seen this in other regions as well. Drivers, when they've got clear track in front of them, just able to pull out a big advantage, and that is exactly, as you said, Jimmy, what Danny Solis is able to do. Meanwhile, Dan Mitchell, who is in P4 at the moment, has got a penalty. You can see there, just ahead of Randall Hayward at the moment. There are the penalties. 5 seconds for Randall Hayward. That's going to write his race off completely here. Big shame for the American here, Jimmy.
And for Mitchell too in front, 5 seconds for him as well. So Grove will definitely benefit from that. But yeah, just a really messy start. Usually these guys are fairly clean, but that was a little bit embarrassing to watch, to be honest. They were just ploughing into T1 like there's no one else there on circuit. This is the thing, sometimes it isn't always you. It takes one little bit of contact from one person on circuit to cause all of that. And you're seeing there all the guys' penalties peeling over to the right hand of the course, and just Grove there in front going, okay, I guess I'll be fourth then. So the order as it stands after all those penalties: Solis, Brooks, Gallen, Grove, Pounder. Here's Randall Hayward, of course, after 5 seconds, all the way down to 9th now. He started in 5th position. So terrible start there for Randall Hayward.
Robbie Heck giving him some grief now as well. Heck, as we said, didn't qualify particularly well at all and is now back on the charge. There's Randall Hayward going wide. Very easy to do here at St. Croix. The barriers are so close, and one simple mistake can cost you quite dear. Somehow Hayward was able to hold on to that position, but I wonder how long he's going to be able to hold off the charge of Robbie Heck. And this is unusual for Heck, because we're used to seeing him fighting at the sharper end of the field. If you look at some of his stats, he's done 98 championship races, 23 of those he's won. That's a win percentage of 23.5%. Meanwhile, Helt coming into the pit lane then, so he is making a stop. All the hard compound tyred runners coming into the pit lane. Here comes Heck versus Hayward into the left-handed kick of turn 1. Bit of contact between them, bit of wheel banging. Hayward's got the inside line for the right-hand, and they're still running side by side. Heck's nearly in the wall on the outside and has to eventually play second fiddle there to Randall Hayward. Very close quarters between these guys in the opening laps though.
Yeah, I mean, they're fighting very hard, but at this point, it's really, you wonder kind of why. Just because they're on the soft tyre right now. And soft tyres are when you have to really, hopefully for your sake anyway, just be putting in good lap times on. And if you're either Randall Hayward or Heck right now, you've just been in a position where you've been slowed up, you've been slowing each other up, you've got penalties, so really it's just damage imitation now. That's all it takes in these races. It's so close in terms of skill and in terms of time, that one mistake like that at the start of your race, that's it, it's over, pretty much.
So what can Mitchell do then? He's in 7th position at the moment on the softer competitive tyre, 1.1 seconds behind Rayner at the moment. Intrigued to see if he's going to be able to close the gap, kind of all on his own here at the moment. It's a very 80s-esque looking livery on his
got a lot of time for that. A lot of time for that.
I thought you might, Jimmy.
Yeah.
despite not being born in the 80s, you're a big fan of it.
Well, I mean, like, it's far cooler than I am. So if I latch onto it, maybe I'll get some of the residual cool. I don't know how that works, but maybe. But yeah, really nice looking livery. And again, we always like seeing that in these events, and seeing the plethora of different liveries that come out to show. Some of them great, some of them not so great. Looking at you, Mark Purnell, with the chrome gold car, but always good to see that level of customisation and personalisation too. It's all about what this online racing is all about. So we're on board now with Robbie Heck. He's been chasing Randall Hayward after coming together at the start of the lap. Hayward's pulled out a little bit of a gap now, despite being on that medium compounder tyre, so obviously quite comfy on it.
Yeah, maybe Heck being caught in the turbulent areas causing him to just be a little bit upset with the balance of his car at the moment. Quite sure what's going on there for Randall Hayward, but either way he needs to find his way through the field, and quickly, if he's going to have any chance of salvaging something really out of this race. He needs to get a good top 5 finish, and that would help him out quite dramatically, but that's easier said than done. Meanwhile, Danny Solis checking out at the moment. Fastest lap last time around, a 2:56. That's of course on the opening lap. I'll be intrigued to see what it's like after it's not being a standing start, and how much quicker he is compared to the rest of the field. Over the timing line he comes, and actually the man who was quickest on that lap was the driver in 2nd position, Andrew Brooks, the Canadian. Was very fast indeed, a 2:43.8 rather. That was just a half a tenth or so quicker than Danny Solis at the moment, but still looking pretty comfortable there is Brooks.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I saw that gap was starting to go the other way. Initially, of course, Danny pulled away, and now Brooks is coming back at him. Of course, we have to keep in mind, as you can see in that top right-hand corner there, 6 times tyre wear on these things. So these soft tyres, especially in these cars, I mean, you try putting 900 horsepower through a set of tyres, you see what happens to them. Of course, then you add in downforce as well, which is pressing the car to the floor. You know, in some cases up to 2 tons of downforce. So the car, for that period of time, weighs 2 tons more than it usually would. yeah, you start getting the tyres start complaining a little bit, as you can probably imagine. So if you're Danny Solis and you're really just pushing at the moment, which I think he was at the start, maybe now he's starting to see the other side of that. The tyres are starting to go away from him. He's starting to struggle a bit with turning the car in, getting on throttle. And Andrew Brooks has been a little bit calmer and sort of just let the moves happen at the start of the race. Is now maybe starting to capitalise on that. But the gap seems stable, 1.6, 1.7 seconds, kind of around there for now. And if Danny can keep that, that'll be a nice little buffer going into the pits.
Seems to be a bit of a case of anything you can do, I can do better at the moment between these two drivers as things stand. Just having a look at some of Andrew Brooks' stats actually coming into this one. He's raced in 381 championship races. Out of those, he's finished in the top 5 314 times. He's taken 174 wins. That's a 45.7% win percentage. That's unbelievable statistics there from Andrew Brooks. It just goes to show the level of dedication that these guys put in to the championship races to get themselves to these top 16 Superstars events.
Yeah, but he'll be unhappy that it's not 50%. Yeah, like that's how these guys think. That, oh yeah, I've only won 46%. I think I've won about, lucky to win 4% of my races, I think. So,
I mean, I'm on minus 46 to be honest.
Yeah, unsatisfied, you know. But yeah, these guys always pushing to be better, and that's how you get to this point. You have to really be passionate about getting that performance out of yourself. You know, in any scenario, and of course this sort of track where it's all about being smooth and being consistent on throttle really rewards you. Here's Hayward, by the way. He's now on the soft compounded tyre. Darts out behind from Leslie. Easy move to make using that draft down the back straight and goes up into P10. Now he's the first person who's made a pit stop at the moment, so he has had that 5-second penalty though. So maybe his track position isn't quite indicative of where he would be pace-wise. However, you know, we'll see how it goes. Oh, heck in front there, just picking up a little bit of the grass. So easy to do for that section when you're chucking the car through there as fast as you can. And then Grove got a penalty there. He must have made a mistake somewhere. He's gone into the wall. So all of a sudden, they're all swapping positions in the midfield. I don't think they mean to.
Turbulence head. Meanwhile, Solis, Brooks and Gallen have come into the pit lane from the top 3 positions. Solis and Brooks have gone from the soft compound tyre back onto the soft, so they're going to be 3 stopping then in this race by the looks of things, whereas Gallen has gone onto the hard tyre. He'll run that for 1 lap presumably and then come in. Lots of other drivers following suit and coming into the pit lane there as well. Damage limitation here for Grove. In particular, Michael Grove we're talking about here, we're looking at, because he has got that penalty, goes to the soft compound tyre, and I wonder how that's going to affect his race. It's going to affect his different strategy now in this one. He's going to serve that penalty very shortly as well.
Oh, I think he's already kind of thrown it away. As I said, this thing, you have 1 mistake and you have several in that last lap, then that kind of ruins the race for you, plus a penalty. So yeah, it's going to be a big blow for his race. Unlikely now to finish probably in the top 8, anywhere around there. Meanwhile, here's Mitchell on the medium compounded tyre. Everyone's now made a pit stop. A couple of people have made 2. Helton Goulet there down at the bottom of the field, 12th and 13th position. Interestingly, of the top 3 drivers, Jeff Gallen's gone for that hard compounded tyre in between. So I'm wondering what strategy that's going to be. We've seen a couple of guys go for the double soft strategy and then medium and hard right at the end, but I think maybe Gallen opted to get the hard tyre out of the way now, or it's got a bit of free space. I don't know, it's hard to gauge.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because if you look at Brooks and Solis, they're on the softer compound tyre at the moment for their second stint in this one, so they've got to run the hards and the mediums still in this one, where, of course, Gallen will have got that hard compound tyre out of the way. I wonder if he's going to then change over to the mediums, perhaps, and go for a sprint to the end on the softs when everybody else around him is on the harder or slower compounds of the mediums and the hards, perhaps.
Yeah, there could also be an element of just finding himself a little bit of space out on the track, finding where he wants to be, and then sort of just going from there. You know, it's a lot easier to put in those qualifying laps on a soft compounder tyre when you have the free space. If you're following someone like Kevin Pounder is here behind Mitchell, then you're in that dirty air. So even though he's on that soft compounder tyre, he can't gain in the corner. He has to wait now for the straight. If it's Jeff Gallen, and you think, you know what, I'm going to go for that soft tyre a bit later on, you can then put in those hot laps with no one in your way, and then when all the pit stops are said and done, you might find yourself up in the lead. Kevin Pounder there, putting to the right side of the circuit. Nice and easy, that should be easy stop into there. There you go, Kevin Pounder up into 6th place. He's got the tyres, help brake a lot quicker into the corner as well. And there you go, off in pursuit of Reina.
Lovely driving there from Kevin Pounder, of course, did some World Tour events previously back in 2019. Seems like an absolute age ago, that, doesn't it, really? And competes for, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, competes for Hyundai now in the manufacturer series. And just, again, looking at some of his stats, 22.7% win percentage. You can tell that we've been blessed with some statistics for this one, which is great. So Jeff Gallen into the pit lane then. He goes from the hards to the mediums for his next stint in this race. And again, I wonder if he's going to run this for one lap and then change over to the softs to be quicker than the other drivers around him. He's got quite a big gap to make up though. You can see there's 16 seconds it sits. Of course, he's a bit out of position now because the two drivers in front of Solis and Brooks haven't made their second pit stop in this race, so that gap will come down, but I wonder how much it will come down by and whether Gallen is going to be able to do anything. It's going to be quite interesting actually to see if that is indeed the strategy that he's running, how it's going to play out for the Canadian driver here, and whether the likes of some other drivers behind will follow a similar course of action.
Yeah, the thing that I'm sort of wondering right now is if he goes for the soft tyre on the next lap, that's going to be too soon. He's not going to be able to get that to the end, I don't think. So, I don't know. We'll see what sort of time management Jeff's got. We know that he's pretty quick out there. I mean, he's always been one of the fast guys when he's taken part in these races. So maybe he'll do 2 laps in the medium, then come in for that soft tyre and go for the fast finish. But I think doing just a 1 lap and then using soft to the end, I think that's going to be a bit too much for that soft compounder tyre. When he gets to the last lap, he'll find himself incredibly slow and just struggling for grip. But he's got 16 seconds right now to Brooks. As you say, that's sort of a bit different because he's also run the hard tyre and made another pit stop as well. So yeah, it's one we're going to have to get our calculators out for, I think.
I have to say, by the way, if you're wondering just how determined Randall Hayward is, currently sitting in 4th position, of course, hasn't made his second pit stop in this race. He just hit the fastest lap of the race last time round. Everybody else around him doing 243s, 245s, 247s, that sort of thing. Randall Hayward, a 242.1. That is like meteorically fast. I mean, it's very hard to overstate just how quick that is.
He needs to be doing that too. He needs to be going that fast. A mistake for Jeff Gallen there, I think, as I've just seen him come into our picture a little bit. That's going to allow Randall Hayward into the slipstream. I think he must have made a mistake coming through the long right-hander because he's just closed right up to the back of Gallen. Has Hayward. Will he go for a move here? I would if I were him, but he does not. I think maybe he's pitting this lap then in that case, because coming through this section, following someone through here on a slower compounder tyre really hurts your lap time because 1, you have dirty air, and 2, well, yeah, you're going to their pace, not to yours. Yeah, Randall looking quick, but again, already having suffered that 5-second penalty, I think he's already out of contention for anything better than what he has now.
This nose cam giving a fantastic sense of speed through these S-bends. If you caught the EMEA region broadcast, you'll have seen me making a complete haulix of those corners. Jimmy Broadbent scything past me on the start-finish straight in one of these very cars, in fact, whilst I was stuck doing what felt like about 9 miles an hour in a road-going vehicle. Meanwhile, Hayward into the pit lane then at the end of lap 5 onto the harder compound of tyre. Is he going to take fuel on board for this one? I don't think he's going to. No, he doesn't. He comes out of the pit lane then onto the hard tyre. He'll run that for 1 lap, come in for the final stop. Now, where does he emerge? He comes out behind Rayner there. So the Canadian driver is ahead. Of course, hasn't made that second pit stop as Rayner, but I wonder if he's just close enough to be in that dirty air. That might compromise his outlap here.
I'll be happy if it down the straight here. We're getting a little bit of a draft, but I don't think the dirty air is going to be too much of an issue because Rayner's just going to put away on those soft tyres at the moment. But yeah, they are starting to close up a little bit now as the strategies start to come together. There is Mark Pennell and the aforementioned gold chrome livery, which always haunts my dreams. It's
livery
in front. Yeah, not even that, mate. put that livery out for adoption if I were coming through the right-hander now. This mid-section is probably the most challenging part of the course because you're sort of in between where the downforce is working and where it isn't working. So you're in 3rd and 4th gear a lot. And with that plus the power of this car, you can see there the throttle input actually quite aggressive there as Mark, able to get on the throttle quite aggressively and quite early. Obviously very familiar with this car. Actually putting up to the back of Mitchell as well, who is on that softer compounder tyre. So Mark has a bit of an advantage here tyre-wise, but probably will be distracting him in the mirror of that abomination of a livery. Sorry, Mark, I'm giving you a bit too much today. But yeah, I think there's a good chance that he'll be getting by probably in the braking zone after this bridge.
Yeah, you can see him there coming to the slipstream. Just a note, by the way, for Danny Solis, doesn't like the fact that Randall Hayward was the fastest man. He's just the first driver now into the 2-minute 40s with a 2:40.8 last time around. So on the soft tyres on lap 6, Solis is absolutely flying. Now, Mark Pennell needs to get a good exit coming through this following right-hander. He's very close. closer than he has been to Dan Mitchell over the course of this one. A little bit wide going through there, but I wonder if that's going to just help him on the exit. Again, a bit wide, a bit too late on the power, but he has the advantage of the slipstream, and I don't think there's anything that Dan Mitchell is going to be able to do. So Canadian versus American. Is Pinnell going to pull out of the slipstream and send one down the inside, perhaps on the brakes? Ready to see what's going to happen. 220 miles an hour between these drivers. Pinnell just plays it safe there. Dan Mitchell holds on to 7th position as the leader comes into pit.
Mitchell had the toe too as well, so he was able to, he was doing 220 mile an hour down there, which is a crazy amount of speed, so he was able to hold on because he had the draft too, so very handy of him. So yes, our leaders into the pits, both going to that hard compound. So what's Jeff Gallen going to do now? Do we see him come into the pit lane at the end of his lap and go for that soft compound tyre for the finish? I'm watching him on there, he goes, coming to the pit lane, soft zone on, there you go. So he's going to go for that fast finish now, whereas these guys in front have already made they've already bolted, so to speak, and now they have to just watch their mirrors and hope Jeff doesn't catch a bit of fuel going in. That'll get him to the end of the race. Our other drivers are going to have to do that too. They want to get to the end. So Danny and Andrew, first and second, they both owe the medium compounder tyre. Jeff, who is 24 seconds behind and has taken fuel as well, now does not have to stop again, whereas everybody else has to stop and take fuel.
He's in the wall! He's in the wall!
For Jeff, disastrous.
Oh dear, sorry to cut in front of you there, Jimmy. We're just coming through turn number 2, hits the wall on the outside. He's now lost the position to Mark Pinnell. So Christmas come early for Pinnell. Disappointment there for Jeff Gallen, and well, that could compromise his race. It could compromise his battle for the win, and it's certainly definitely going to compromise this lap if nothing else. But Jeff Gallen there, well, the strategy was looking pretty interesting. We were excited to see how it's all going to play out, and that just goes to show, doesn't it, a simple mistake can cost you quite significantly. And for Jeff Gallen, it may potentially have cost him a chance at the win here.
That was it. I mean, he's now going to be stuck behind Mark Pinnell as well, who's on a more worn version of the tyre that Jeff is on, and it just slows you down if you're there trying to put in those fast laps. Of course, not a slight on Mark, because Mark's a very quick driver, but worn tyres are worn tyres, and Jeff there on his fresh set is going to be just absolutely ruining that mistake. So easy to do though. You come out the pit lane, you think, oh man, these tyres are quick, you know, I've got a bit more fuel on board as well. Maybe your braking zone isn't quite the same as it was, you know, last time around. You hit the brakes and you very quickly realise that you're heading towards the wall, which is always a horrible feeling. But yeah, well, Jeff, you know, he's not out of it yet. If he can get by Mark quickly, then there might be a chance. But right now, you see he's really struggling with that dirty air. It's going to have to be a move on the back straight. But even then, he's lost an entire half a lap pretty much of using those tyres to their full potential, which is really going to hurt his chance.
Recovery drive now then for Jeffrey Gallen. Can he do enough to get himself ahead of Mark Pinnell and try and close that gap down? I think it's going to be a bit of a bridge too far. If you pardon the pun, they've just gone over a bridge here at St. Croix, and he is too far away from Pinnell to challenge soft tyre versus soft tyre. Pretty much a moot point between them at the moment. Does have the advantage of the slipstream though, so I'm about to contradict myself, because you can see Pinnell goes defensive. Gallen though is going to pull to the inside, late on the brakes. We're going to go, and the Canadian is through on his compatriot into 3rd position. But the crucial question remains, as we've got Solis and Brooks to make their final stops in this race, what they're going to do. And speaking of making their final stops, the 2 drivers come in. So Solis ahead of Brooks, 11 litres left of fuel in that car as well. They're going to take a bit more fuel on board, as you can see, just to make it to the checkered flag. And Solis will come out then ahead of Brooks. Where is Jeff Gallen going to be? I wonder if he's going to be ruining that, because he might end up being pretty close here, actually, as it turns out. Out of the pit lane they come. Solis
long way behind Tom.
Yeah, he is, you're right. Yeah, so it did cost him. It probably cost him about 15-20 seconds, that incident there, where he lost all of that time.
I'd say probably cost him about 5 seconds, I'd say, if I were to put a number on it, just because, one, the incident itself, and two, because he got stuck behind Mark Pinnell. He gained about 2 seconds as soon as he passed him, so you kind of get an idea of just how much that really hurt him. But now it's going to be essentially just a race to the flag. No one's got to stop again. Danny's there in front. He's got 4 seconds or so of Andrew Brooks, which is going to make him very happy. And Brooks, in turn, has 11 seconds on Jeff Gallen. So it's looking more and more likely that we're going to see an American winner here. Specifically, of course, the man from the US, Daniel Solis. And it looks like we're going to have a Canadian 2, 3, 4 if things end as they are. But we still have 2.5 laps left. Jeff Gallen still has those fast tyres underneath him. No, we never count out mistakes from even the top guys. We've seen many times before where we think, oh, our race is completely done and set, and then suddenly it all unravels on the last lap. So keep an eye on this.
name we haven't seen before, by the way, is Rayner in 4th position. Canadian driver making, I believe, their debut into the top 16 Superstars event. They've done 70 championship races, have won 6 of them, top 5 finishes in 24 of those races, and doing a great job here in 4th position, holding off Randall Hayward at the moment. Of course, Rayner on the medium tyre, Hayward on the soft compound tyre. So Hayward, despite the penalty he had in the opening lap here, may potentially be ready to salvage 4th position here from this race. I'm just looking at the pit stops to see, yeah, all of these drivers now on the tyres, I believe, until the end of this one, and you can see then Rayner going to the inside, Hayward pulls to the outside with a great slingshot coming down this short back straight over the bridge and through into 4th position, and that just goes to show the difference in grip that there is between the soft and medium tyre. Hayward now with clear track in front of him into P4.
Yeah, I mean, just had a much better run coming onto the bridge there. It's a really tricky corner, that. It's very deceptive. It's off camber and a little bit bumpy as well. So I think Hayward's able to use that a bit better and get through. Meanwhile, Mitchell making progress still on that soft tyre. He's past Leslie and shoots CJR behind. So making good progress. He's straight away putting it to the inside, trying to break that toe. He does not want to have to defend again, though. He won't have to. I don't think they're quite far behind at this point. But just noticing the gap from Jeff Gallen to Brooks has gone down to 9.6 seconds, so 2.5 seconds in that lap alone. But it's a little bit too little too late, I think. Keep an eye on his lap time, Tom. Let's see what he does. It's going to be a fast one, though, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see, because Gallen the red mist will have certainly descended over the timing line. He comes to start his penultimate lap here in this one. Is it going to be a fastest lap? It certainly is. Wow, what a lap from Jeff Gallen at 2:14.1. That is nearly 0.7 of a second quicker than we have seen from anybody else out on track so far in this race. Jeff Gallen, well, he's going to be wondering what might have been, because if that gap had been, say, 5 or 6 seconds, as it probably should have been, but for that incident, he would have been right on the rear wing of Andrew Brooks by now.
It's one of those things, you know, again, we mentioned it at the start of the race, in the middle of the race, we mentioned it now as well. It's just one mistake, and that's all it has to be in these competitions. It's so tight, there's so much talent in these top 16 races that, you know, you can't afford to give anyone any room, any time at all. Otherwise you just end up you know, losing out. But I'm sure Mr. Gallen, you know, he's again one of the fastest guys of the region, definitely. I think him, Brooks and Solis going to make up the fast guys here. But he's still, I don't know, 8.7 seconds. I don't think it's going to be enough, but I think he'll be able to at least see Brooks before the end of the race, which will be a little bit of a kick in the teeth, I think. You say, oh, I can afford him, but I think he'll have him in his sights before the race is over.
Yeah, let's see what's going to happen. Robbie Heck has made his final stop in this race onto the medium tyres for the closing stages. Then down in 15th position there for Robbie Heck. Disappointment for the American driver. Work to do. Jeffrey Gallen getting a wiggle on, coming out of the right-hander over the bridge. You can see just how hard he is pushing. You can see in front as well. That gap has come down to 8.8 seconds now between Brooks and Jeffrey Gallen. And they're nearly in the same picture. Won't be long before they are. And, well, Jeff Gallen, he'll be happy with that, but he'll be disappointed in so many other aspects as well. That long right-hander putting so much load on the outside front tyre. And Gallen, of course, going to be significantly quicker compared to Solis and Brooks. Ready to come on to the final lap then. Let's keep an eye out and see how things go between them. There is Jeff Gallen coming down the straight, 215 miles an hour. He's touching there. They go hard on the brakes. This is the right-hander.
This section here, Tom, this is the one.
Yeah.
This is the one where you make up the time on the tyres. Just again, this is a great camera. We had this the other day on some other races. Gives you a good idea of just what the tyre loads look like through here visually. You know, there you go, chucking it through, touching the curves, the tyre deforming as you touch it. But you don't notice that as a driver. I don't think you want to notice that as a driver. It might make you feel a little bit uneasy about going around, to be honest. But Jeff very fast through there, but unfortunately the reality of the situation is he's still 8.7 seconds behind Brooks. The gap hasn't come down that much on that lap. I think that soft tyre's had its best now, and Jeff really has to focus on driving to the line.
Yep, that is indeed the case. Meanwhile, Randall Hayward there in 4th position at the moment, doing a very nice job. And again, I think that's going to be another race for him, questioning what might have been, because if he hadn't had that penalty on the opening lap, he may have potentially been able to fight for a podium finish. Either way, good damage limitation as Rayner comes into the pit lane then for their final stop in this one, onto the medium, from the medium rather, onto the hard compound of Thailand. A bit of fuel going on board there. Same strategy for Mark Pinnell, the two Canadians, in at the start of the final lap here at the Circuit Saint Croix. Who stuck out for you in this race then, Jimmy? Who has been the driver that you've looked at and thought, yeah, they've done really well here?
It's sort of hard to say, just because it's not been a particularly good performance for a lot of the drivers. We've seen a lot of penalties, a lot of mistakes coming in. But I'd have to say, well, there you go. As I think about it, probably Danny. I mean, he started behind, started in third place, had a fantastic start, made the move when he needed to, and then just didn't really look back. Extended the gap at the start of the race to make sure he had the the time behind. And bear in mind, this is the guy that a couple of years ago had never used the steering wheel online. He came to the Las Vegas final for the World Tour Event in 2018, having never used one, having used a gamepad, and was contemplating not taking part because he felt he was so slow. Now, here we are, nearly 2 years later, and he's smashing these events, even taking on and beating Andrew Brooks, who is someone that we have considered for a long time to be one of the best of this region.
Very impressive stuff from Danny Solis. And good to see him really righting the wrongs of this season, because it's been a challenging year for him really in this Top 16 Superstars events. We've seen him cracking under pressure, if you remember back to Suzuka, I believe it was a few rounds ago, and we saw him there going off the track when he was squabbling amongst the top 5 drivers. But this is just a very competitive, composed and calm performance here from Solis. He's controlled this one. He hasn't looked like he's been under too much pressure, and now he's only got a handful of corners remaining here as he slides it through that right-hander. He knows that he's got this one under control, and what can you say about it? Not much really aside from that. Solis looking absolutely untouchable here at the Circuit Saint Croix. Just one more corner to go then for the American driver. Credit as well to Andrew Brooks, who is 4.6 seconds back, but didn't have an answer to this man here. Over the line comes Danny Solis to take the win in the Nations Cup race for round 20 of the North American Region Top 16 Superstars event. Andrew Brooks comes home second fastest, and it's a double Canadian podium. Jeff Gallen, well, would he have been able to fight for the victory? It's a question we'll never know the answer to. Either way, he comes home P3, a very well-deserved podium and a hugely well-deserved result for this man here of Randall Hayward. P4 it is for the American driver. A penalty on the opening lap, came through the field, kept his calm, kept his composure, and takes a very nice finish at the checkered flag as well.
So it needs to be there. It's another great race for Danny Solis and for Brooks as well. I mean, 1-2, you're not going to be unhappy with that. Those guys are teammates, of course, remember that. Jeff Gallen, I think, is the what could have been story. The fight's still going on, though, as Mark Purnell having to defend from David Mitchell on that hard compound tyre. Just about keeps him off there as David goes to explore the barriers at the start-finish straight as we come across the line. But good job by Mark. That's a good result for him. Usually we don't see him too high up in these races. He tends to get stuck in the midfield, but I think he's had a lot of fun out there. That F500 team manages an impressive 6th place. Good job, Mark.
Confirmation of the podium you can see on your screen there. Solis, Brooks and Gallen ahead of Hayward and Kevin Pounder. Nicely designed top 5 finish there for Kevin Pounder. Quiet race for him, but a very well-deserved result. You can see held there, rather, I should say, completing the top 10 ahead of Goulet, Leslie, Grove, Watson, Heck down in 15th position, a lap behind the rest of the field, dear oh dear. And McFadden completing the 16 finishers in our top 16 Superstars events. So those are the final results then. Let's see what it means for the points rankings. Andrew Brooks then, as you can see, at the top of the pile after 20 rounds ahead of Randall Hayward and Danny Solis. A couple of movers in the lower half of the top 10 there, though, Jimmy. Some drivers moving down, some drivers moving up. Jeff Gallen with that podium finish, despite it not being the result he might have wanted, he's up into 4th place now.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Jeff Gallen's a bit of a latecomer to this series this time around, so just trying to gain as many places as possible. He's never going to catch the top 3, so P4 ideally probably the best place for him. And again, Mark Purnell with that impressive 6th place moves himself up into 8th, and to be middle of the pack in this sort of field is no mean feat, so very impressive there.
So that brings an end to Stage 2 of the online season for the FIA Gran Turismo Championships. We'll be back with the start of Stage 3, round 24 of the Top 16 Superstars on the 19th of July. From Jimmy Broadbent and from myself, Tom Brooks, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
4,